here. It's time to live, impact, value, and engage heart first. It's time for Live at 7:55 with Mitch Taylor.
Good morning. Welcome to Live at 7:55 for this Tuesday, December 17th. Thanks so much for joining me for your weekday motivational kickstart. That is Live at 7:55. And today we're going to reminisce just a little bit more after the break. Back to Live at 7:55, and we have Midwest DJs Live coming up. Merry Christmas, Jen. Hope all is well with you and Brian. Good morning, Brian Harris. Good morning, Joe Locke. Good morning, Tom Heath. Thanks so much for being here. Today's edition, I want to take a trip down memory lane, reminisce a little bit. This lesson to me is never forget where you came from. And this kind of comes up a couple different reasons for me today, because if you follow sports at all, Joe Burrow, who is the LSU quarterback who won the Heisman, had an amazing speech. If you get a chance, seriously, if you're even not a sports fan, it doesn't matter if you're a sports fan or not, go view his Heisman speech, watch the speech itself. And the audio is really where it's at. If you get a chance, just listen to the audio clip. Joe really hits home in regards to never forgetting where he came from. And actually, this came up in conversation with a fellow Midwest DJs Live board member. That's also why I bring it up today, Jeff Burdick. And Jeff is one of those behind-the-scenes guys for Midwest DJs Live. He's the glue. He's the logistics guy behind the scenes that kind of gets things done. And, we couldn't survive the show without everyone involved. But Jeff is definitely one of those guys that takes care of things behind the scenes for us. And so this comes up because in a conversation we were having in a board meeting, it's kind of before we really get the ball rolling, so to speak. And we sat there, and all of a sudden I see a reel-to-reel machine in Jeff's studio. And I'm like, oh my God, is that a reel-to-reel machine? And just salivating over a reel-to-reel machine. Those of you under the age of 40, go look up what that is on the internet. Maybe 35, somewhere in that ballpark. And so he showed me his reel-to-reel machine. And ironically enough, I was at a venue on Friday setting up, and there was a reel-to-reel machine in this venue in the back where they have the sound equipment for the overhead speakers and things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that a reel-to-reel machine? So it kind of came up again for me. But it brought me back to where I was in radio and someone called in a request. And the opening lyrics of the song that the woman gave me on the phone was, "All alone tonight, I'm calling out your name." And so this is pre-internet. This is 1994, mind you. And I'm racking my brain, trying to figure out what song this is. I go home to my roommate at the time and ask him, and he's a kind of a pseudo DJ as well. Good morning, Jamie Bodie. And long story short, he has the cassette single of the song. We find the name of the song. He has the cassette single. I bring the cassette single into the studio and I realize I can't play it from the on-air studio because we don't have a cassette player. It's all carts and reel-to-reels. So I go in our production studio. I cut the song from cassette, drop it onto a reel-to-reel, bring it back into the radio studio, put it on reel-to-reel there in the on-air studio, and play it for the woman later that night on my shift, dedicate it to her, and play Jimmy Harnan with Sync. "Where Are You Now" is the name of the song. And so, good morning, Jeffrey Sandler. And so that was a trip down memory lane for me. And never forgetting where you came from in regards to how you got to where you got to in this business. and never forgetting that I'm the same kid that was doing radio for 36 hours a week full time, making $143.57 a week after taxes. You can't forget where you came from in this business and where you're going, and never forget what it's like to live hand to mouth. Never forget what it's like to not have what you currently have, because it could be gone in an instant with regards to your health or whatever it might be. So I thought it was definitely apropos, that story combined with Joe Burrow's Heisman Trophy speech, where he talked about coming from southeastern Ohio and all the impoverished kids that are growing up with not much food on the table. And ironically enough, a gentleman from southeastern Ohio started a Facebook campaign to raise money for those food pantries, if you will, in southeastern Ohio, where Joe Burrow comes from, hoping to raise $1,000 out of it. And he ends up raising like 160 grand. So amazing, right? So just in this season of giving, and in this season of reflection, as you go into 2020, a brand new decade, just never forget where you came from. I think that is so important in life, and that we always remember where we came from and who we owe our career to, those that helped us when we were just getting started and things like that. So that's my message for you today for this edition of Live at 7:55. Thank you so much for your viewership. Greatly appreciate it. We're going to be back on Thursday, as tomorrow's BNI for me. So we'll be back on Thursday with another edition of your weekday motivational kickstart. That is Live at 7:55. See you Thursday.
Thanks for watching Live at 7:55. To bring Mitch to speak to your organization, go to MitchTaylor.net. Now go live, impact, value, and engage heart first.